If you've ever filed for a workers' compensation case, then there might have been pressure for you to accept a settlement. While that may seem less complicated, there are still a few things that you need to know first. Catherine Stone from Barbas Law is back to explain exactly what we were talking about. And I got to say, just even reading that topic, I'm like, wait a second, if you're on workers' comp, why are still people asking you to do a settlement?
Well, if you're, typically we see, if you're unrepresented, meaning you don't have an attorney, the adjuster for the insurance company will pick up the phone sometimes and call you and say, hey, you know what, I'll give you X amount of money and we'll close your case out. And don't you want this money? And clients, you know, sometimes will jump on it because they'd rather have the cash up front and go for it. But I would encourage anyone that if you're not represented by an attorney and an adjuster calls you, get on the phone, call our office and speak to one of our work comp attorneys, because there's so many elements to a settlement. Is it right for you? If you're still actively treating, if you've got surgery recommendations, if you've got injection recommendations, have your money benefits stopped? Are you still getting those money benefits? Could you be potentially entitled to other money benefits under the system? And we do a full case evaluation and explain to you and break it down, the different elements of what's taken into consideration with a settlement and whether or not it's right for you. There's always a right time to settle a case, and it may not necessarily be when the adjuster wants you to talk about settling the case.
Is this common to have these phone calls?
It can be, yes, especially if the case has gone on for quite a while and they still don't have an attorney. There's a lot of people out there that don't have attorneys for workers' compensation, and you know, I've actually worked on the other side. I've actually represented employer carriers, and I know what adjusters and how they operate when someone is unrepresented. Now, I will tell you that if you try to settle with an unrepresented claimant's attorney, they still have to take the case in front of the judge. So a judge will still have to approve any settlement, especially if you're unrepresented.
If you're in a situation, is there like a time restraint or a money restraint or something like that that you can be forced to settle?
You can never be forced to settle your workers' compensation case. The employer carrier can never tell you, now is the time you have to settle your case. They can't force you, they can't coerce you to settle your case. As long as your case is still active and open, you have every right to continue with your medical treatment if your doctors believe it's still medically necessary, if you're still getting your money benefits because you still qualify. They cannot force you. But in the same term, you can't force, or the injured worker can't force the employer carrier to settle the case either. So I have sometimes where the clients are like, I want to just settle. Tell them to, let's just settle the case. And for whatever reason, it's not right on the other end as well either. So there's a lot of aspects. And also when you go to settle your workers' compensation case, they not only usually require you sign a work comp settlement agreement, a lot of times they also want what's called a general release to be signed, and that encompasses not just workers' comp. You're giving up workers' comp rights. You're giving up a lot of rights related to your employment and even potential claims that you may have had separate and apart against your employer. So it encompasses a lot, and I would encourage anyone that's interested in discussing settlement, make sure you have an attorney review any settlement documents before you sign them.
Because again, good reasons, bad reasons, and need someone to look at your case overall.
Right.
Wow. Again, great information, Catherine. We really do appreciate you coming on each week. And if you do have any questions about your rights, well, just give them a call at 1-800-BARBAS-LAW or go to barbaslaw.com/knowyourrights.